What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Tales of Arise video. Last night, Famitsu had posted the first interview with the Tales of Arise producer, and I was going to make a video on it when I woke up. I was going to like auto-translate and everything. But luckily, I don't have to do that because Gamatsu actually pretty much translated everything that was talked about in that. So we're going to go over it real quick and see what's going on. I haven't really read this. I read like the first few lines, but other than that, I haven't really read too much. So we're going to go over it in detail right now. So Tales of Arise is a series, ironic how they use the word rebirth, because rebirth is a title, that aims to be a highly immersive experience. So let's go over everything we see here. So Famitsu has published the first interview with Tales of Arise producer Yuusuke Tomizawa following the game's announcement, who shares new information on the upcoming revitalization of the series. Now, when I first saw this, revitalization can be both good and bad because obviously they want to make the game, appealing to the current fan base and people who are going to buy it, but they also need to make it appealing to the longtime fans who have been here since the beginning. So hopefully they can live up to that. But let's go over everything that was kind of talked about. So Tales of Arise project started long before Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, which was announced 1 year ago. So from what I understand, the production, or just even everything with Tales of Arise, started after Tales of Berseria was done. So we can figure this game has probably been in development since probably the beginning of 2017, which is pretty good. It'll be a little over 3 years of work for a Tales game, which is pretty much the longest we've ever had, in between games. So that's definitely a good thing. As you might be able to tell from the video, this is a considerably challenging title, and when creating it, we first had to take some time to rethink what the Tales of series is and what it should be. So obviously they do have it in their heads that they want to make sure it stays to being what the core of Tales is, which I'm sure generically for most fans is, a good story, like normal Tales combat. You have 4 of your characters in a battlefield. You can switch between them, and you can switch to what enemies you're going to be fighting. That's the basic Tales combat, skits, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they kind of do with that and how they keep it feeling like Tales. Because obviously, I know a lot of people at first, and even people who aren't Tales fans who saw the trailer, were saying, oh, this just looks like a Monster Hunter reskin, because the gameplay kind of makes it seem like that. The only really gameplay we see a few arts being shown from the main characters, and we see rolling and dodging, which is Monster Hunter or Dark Souls. Just a whole bunch of rolling and dodging. Our goal was succession and evolution while also confronting the traditions of the series. So yeah, exactly. So they want this to be a successful game and for it to be, modernized. They want that combat to evolve into something that feels not like, obviously they're not going to have something old, like, as much as I love the older titles, we're not going to have something like Vesperia gameplay, because that's not what, is modern anymore. And especially with how Tales has kind of evolved from now, especially with the last 2 titles, they've really kind of gone with the kind of from the back kind of 3D arena type thing. So I assume it's going to stay with that, moving forward. I don't think we'll ever get the traditional, like, Symphonia, Vesperia, Xillia, side-to-side kind of gameplay probably ever again in a new title. I mean, they could, someday, but I'd say for now it's probably not very likely. As we were analyzing the main appeals of the Tales of series, there were many parts that needed to evolve for the future in order to maintain and expand the brand from here on out. We also need to attract the attention of young players. So they are a company. They need to make money. If they just appeal to their current audience, it's not going to bring in new people. So as much as people are like, oh, don't don't sell out, don't do this, don't do that. They're a company, they need to make money. And, they want to keep things genuine for longtime players, but they also need to do things to bring more people in. And it worked. Like, if you watch a lot of the E3 reactions of the game, you'll see tons of people who have never played a Tales game before that are super excited for this game. And, if they like this game, maybe they'll go back and play the other titles. Because, if you're new to a game series and you play a game and you love it and you're like, oh, I want more, you've got like 18 other titles that came before this that you can try out. Now, obviously, it's kind of hard to do when you play a newer title and then you go back to older titles and, the gameplay and graphics may not be up to what you experience with this game, especially with Tales. Each main title kind of has a different gimmick when it comes to its combat. You may like gameplay like Symphonia or Vesperia, and you may not like gameplay like Grace's Zestiria or Berseria, But yeah, it's definitely a good marketing plan to bring in other people. That being said, we are challenging ourselves to present something that dares to step back from the traditional conventions of the series in order to attract more players. So, okay. They are going to step back from traditional conventions. But I'm fine with that. The combat can be something new, something fresh, but as long as it stays to what Tales is, and same thing with the other stuff, as long as the skits are there, as long as the character development and character interactions are there, as long as we still get, a 40-plus hour story, I'm going to be happy. As long as the game doesn't play like Monster Hunter, I'll be happy. There will probably be some fans who only watch the trailer and feel a sense of uneasiness. See, they already know. But we had discussions regarding fundamental appeal of the Tales of series and the points to carry over, and decided and planned our points of evolution based upon that. We will explain the details for each element at some point in the future. So, the good thing is, because what a lot of companies do, and I'm going to use an example with, it's not, I don't know if it's the best example, but let's use Nintendo for example. They're coming out with Super Mario Maker 2. They put online, everyone was excited, and then they reveal you can't play with friends. You're just going to be playing with random people online. That's something that they're not clearly aware of what their current fan base wants. They're just, Nintendo still has in their head, oh, if you want to play with your friends, just meet in person, play, undock your Switches and stuff like that. But obviously, it's not what people want to do. And same thing with the Pokemon fiasco that's going on right now. Obviously, they can't do everything perfect, but, you got to do something to appeal to most of the fans, because that's what's going to make your game popular. So they're aware that there is a point of uneasiness. And we obviously, a lot of us felt that when we first saw the trailer. I saw the leaks, I saw the trailer. At first, I was like, this looks pretty, but is it still Tales? And that's, the big thing for me. They'll reveal more. Like I said in a previous video, they're going to reveal more about the game at Tales of Festival this Saturday and Sunday. So we'll see what they have to show there. And obviously, the game comes out in 2020. I'm hoping for a early release. They didn't say early 2020, so they probably don't have a release date locked down, but I would hope, before halfway through the year, maybe we'll get it. And yeah, you can see it actually right here, Tales of Festival 2019, June 15th and 16th. With Tales of Arise, we cast away the dedicated engine we have used thus far in order to realize rich lighting and atmosphere accompanied with unique watercolor-like graphics and approachable character models. We base the game on Unreal Engine 4 while developing our own completely original shaders and the like. So that was another thing people were kind of thrown back by, because obviously when Tales of Berseria came out, it was still run on an engine that worked for PS3, and then it just got, HD scaled for PS4 and Steam. So really, the last game we have is really just a PS3 game. Both Zestiria and Berseria were on PS3, and then they both got, scaled up for PS4. So we haven't really gotten a real kind of, next-gen console game with the new graphics for Tales. And, looking at Tales of Arise, I'd say for the next, maybe 2 or 3 titles, this is kind of what it's going to look. I mean, obviously, depending on when they come out, we'll have one in 2020. 3 years for a Tales title, I feel like is okay. Every 3 years. I would not be opposed to that, but, who knows? They've never really stuck with a specific amount of time of when they release games, so who knows? But yeah, so they're using Unreal Engine 4, which is cool. And overall, I'd say it looks fine. I just, obviously I need to see the other character designs and everything to really make a decision as to how I feel about this. So let's go on to the next point. The theme is to hopefully offer a highly immersive experience. As one representation of that, we are further enhancing things such as performance and actions of the characters in order to have players feel as if this character lives in this world. With that approach, I was kind of thinking for a second like what they actually mean by that, but we'll talk about that in a second. With that approach, we're combining fields and characters depicted in a watercolor style, as well as increasing the body size of characters to look more human. We're putting a particular amount of effort into motions, like even if you turn around, the character will not instantly rotate. It's more realistic in that the character will first twist their body before turning around. So they're really trying to modernize this game, essentially. So even the slightest move, because like Berseria, for example, if you were just playing Berseria and you turned around, if you were Velvet, she would just immediately turn around. You didn't see her feet turn as if she's trying to move around. So they really are trying to make this feel like this character is not a character in a game, but this character is someone in this world. They said the character lives in this world. So it seems like they are putting, and that's probably why it took so many years. They're not just pumping out another Tales game that people are going to play for a week, put 40 to 60 hours in and then forget about it. They're trying to make this a game where, you put 40 to 60 hours in or more than that, and you want to go back and play it again. Which, I mean, for me personally, almost every Tales game I've done a new game plus for. At least twice that I've currently beaten. But obviously not every player goes back for a second time. And it seems like they want to kind of do that, They want it to be immersive. They want you to be able to sit down, you play for 6 hours and you're like, oh crap, what have I been doing for 6 hours? Oh right, I've been in this world. Moving on. Minoru Iwamoto, who works at Bandai Namco Studios, is the main designer and head of art direction. This is the first Mothership title in the series where both of those roles are filled by a single person. So that was the thing, especially with Berseria, there were like 4 people who were working on both of those things, and so sometimes it didn't feel like it was very cohesive with how things looked. So this is good that they're keeping it to one person. But obviously that's a lot of a workload. But because of that, there is a sense of unity in the game's art in various aspects. For example, by simultaneously working on both the world and costume designs, we can have a sense of unification even up to the cultural level. This is also the plan to offer a highly immersive experience, which is, again, the theme of this game. So yeah, so if you have one mind kind of working on all these things together as to how the world's going to look, you're not going to have like, a character looking some way that doesn't really fit with how the world looks. So I think that's really nice. For areas related to performance, such as characters' facial animations or the camera work, we're aiming for a level of 3D anime comparable to a television and theater. So yeah, I mean, it does look very anime. You can look at games like Symphonia or Vesperia, which are kind of like, what's the word for it? Because they are like anime-ish, but almost more cartoony. I mean, anime, cartoon is the same thing. But obviously they weren't like full life-size models of how a character would actually look. They were small, kind of like chibi-ish in comparison to what we're seeing here. So obviously, with all these games coming out that have these, full lifelike 3D models, they really want to kind of capture the Tales style in a modern game. While it may appear that 2D anime is unnecessary with the upgrade to 3D anime, which obviously, 2D anime, is pretty much any title before this. 2D anime is an important element of the Tales of series and plays a part in great balance and succession evolution. While looking for a more effective utilization, we are designing the drama to be more exciting on both ends. So, obviously, I do hope, that I'm not trying not to take this too literally when it comes to 2D anime and 3D anime. They're obviously talking about the character models in-game, when you're running around, when you're battling and stuff. But obviously, all fans are going to hope that they have the real kind of anime skits and cutscenes that we are used to. Development is being handled entirely by Bandai Namco Studios. Among our ranks are staff from Tales of Berseria, and even some of them worked on Tales of Phantasia. We have staff both new and old who love the series, are working on the game while discussing the succession and evolution of tradition. So that's great. You've got people from Phantasia all the way to Berseria, So you do have this kind of sense of, you've got veterans and new people who worked on these games, and they can kind of come together with their ideas as to what the game should really look and feel like, which is a really, it was a sigh of relief when a lot of us heard about this last night, because we feel a lot more, what's the word for it? We feel a lot more safe putting our faith in Bandai with this title when it comes to stuff like this, because obviously we do want this game, like I've said before, to feel like a Tales of game, like stuff we're used to. So we'll see how that goes. The composer is still a secret, but will be introduced at a later time. We have a theme song, so obviously the opening for the game will be revealed at some point, and I'll be very excited to see that. Okay, so here they're just talking about the plot real quick, so I'll go over that real quick. The planet on which the protagonist lives is Dana. The planet that floats in the sky above is Rena. Dana is a naturally rich planet, but is equivalent to the Middle Ages in current Leve. Rena, on the other hand, is developed in science and magical arts and invaded Dana 300 years before the events of the game. With its overwhelming difference in power, Rena defeated and enslaved the people of Dana. This has continued for 300 years, which is where our story begins. The protagonist is from Dana. How to overturn his people's state of oppression is one direction the story takes. The protagonist's armor and helmet are equipped due to his physical features. Anyone who saw my video yesterday, I was kind of talking about like why he has this. So it says due to his physical features. It should be noted that he has more than just his armor outfit and will change to various costumes according to the situation. So I assume that has to do with his powers. Maybe his costume will change at times. So that'll be interesting. The heroine is from Rena, and this is a confident and attractive woman, of course. With the power relationship between Dana and Rena, she and the protagonist are not very good friends from the start. Their relationship begins in a setting where the people of Rena discriminate against the people of Dana and eventually leads to a great drama. So, Symphonia, you could either say the people from Silverant, the people from Tetheala, or you could even just say the humans and the angels, the kind of relationship that they had. So, very similar. Battles are Tales-esque action battles against enemies and encounters. So that's good. It's still the same thing. You still run into an enemy, it goes into a field, and then you fight. The theme here is to give new users a feeling of an exhilarating battle. We're going for battles with more intuitive and speedier action that makes you think this seems fun just by looking at it. So obviously we saw some of that in the trailer, They were just showing kind of big boss battles, because obviously they're not just going to show, you beating small enemies in a couple hits, because that's not going to be a big appeal to a title. In battle, you can unleash various actions according to the situation. There are also elements that raise skill level through long time use. So I'm wondering, so they say skill level. So obviously we'll have our overall level like we do in every Tales game. So I assume that when it's talking about actions, I assume these actions are linked to the skill level. So maybe there are certain abilities that as you use them over and over, they will rank up and become stronger. We're upping the intimidation of enemy designs. This comes from the idea that you should get a greater feeling of accomplishment from defeating an enemy. While we worry there are some female players that dislike that, it is nevertheless important for RPG battles to evoke a sense of accomplishment when defeating an enemy. So that they're worried that the creatures that are ugly are going to scare off their female players. That's not to say there won't be cute type enemies. It's still a secret, but there is something like a mascot in this game. Okay, so we are going to have I mean, every Tales game has a mascot. You can't not have one, so that'll be interesting to see who that's going to be. Obviously, our last mascot was Bienfu, so we'll see how you top that, because Bienfu was pretty funny. Tales of Arise, the Tales of series has many traditional elements, and the same can be said for action battles, but there are also dialogue scenes called skit and chat. Regarding those, we're making each element while consistently having detailed discussions, such as why is that popular and what kind of evolution do players want to see. So obviously there's still skits, but I'm curious skit and chat. I assume chat is just when you talk to people in the overworld, and skit will just be the normal skits. Yeah, so I mean they're keeping stuff the same, so that's good to see there. We thought it was necessary to report on the team's hard work and launched a blog to bring the series together. From here on, we will communicate in detail via social media. I can't make any promises, but I would like to offer more opportunities to go hands-on with the game before the release. Hold on, I had trouble reading that for whatever reason. I can't make any promises, but I would like to offer more opportunities to go hands-on with the game before release than we have before. So, I mean, with Berseria, they did have kind of an online demo that they kind of threw out, I think a couple months before it came out. So that'd be nice if they have a couple, gameplay demos for players to try out. And then I guess the last part here is, why did you choose the name Tales of Arise when TOA abbreviation is already attributed to Tales of the Abyss? Which is something people wondered. Why did they go with A again? Because they've had this kind of thing where they never go back on a mainline title to the same letter. The code name for this project was Arise. It is a word that came from a strong desire to revitalize the series during development. The series arising. Usually the game title usually has something to do with something that happens in the game. But I guess the reason they came out with this code word is because, obviously, for this. After that, we discussed title ideas with our worldwide development and marketing staff, but everyone was in general agreement that Arise, the code name that held our convictions, was the most appropriate title. So we decided to go with it to convey our enthusiasm for the series Rebirth. Find that it keeps using Rebirth. Even if we had to change the unspoken rule of the series abbreviation. Of course, see, the unspoken rule of the series abbreviation. Oh, well. Of course, it is also linked to the themes expressed in the story, and the word arise adds to the sentiments of the protagonist and company who rise up to overturn their suppressive environment. We want the abbreviation for this game to be Arise or TO Arise. Obviously, you can't just... I've seen people calling it TOA, like, on Twitter and stuff, and obviously you can't... Obviously, people who aren't fans of the series yet, and this is going to be their first game, they don't know that yet, but obviously, they'll know eventually, because obviously there's already 2 games that are TOA. You just gotta go with Arise for this one. I can't say anything regarding the release date yet. While things are complete to a certain extent, there are still things that need to be brushed up, and there are many sections, such as battles and drama parts, that still need to be built. So, and obviously, Tales of Arise is due out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC in 2020. So the fact that they're saying that the game is complete to a certain extent, that I'm expecting an early 2020 release, you know. It's only June right now, so I could totally see a January release for this game, which I would love. You know, the sooner I get this game, the better, but also I do want them to polish it out as much as possible so we do get a satisfactory experience when it comes to this title. But yeah, I mean wow, that was a long article. So yeah, just overall, I am very excited after reading this article to see what they're trying to keep things that Tales fans like while also trying new things to pull in new players. And obviously, even just with this trailer, it's working. There are people who are like, you know, I've seen Tales games before, they didn't kind of appeal to me, but this game, you know. So obviously, they are doing stuff like that to kind of pull in a new group of players. You know, obviously it has been a long time since the series started, and obviously there's a new generation of players that need to be brought in. But other than that, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this article. I will have a post to this article in the description below if you want to read it yourself. Don't forget to subscribe for more if you're new to the channel. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.